This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, along with a full house for the first time here on the Primetime Podcast. Host Brandon Swanson. I'm joined, as I have been for the last couple weeks, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And now, Sean, making his first appearance back on the PTP.
I don't think a full house really works for this. Like 3 of a kind, maybe, but like
Ooh.
full house.
Full house has to be 5?
Yeah, it needs to be 5. I mean, we could be 3. You know, we're not aces. We're definitely not aces. We could be like 3, 8, and 8.
Yeah, so 8's kind of high.
We could be 3 2s. But then we need the other 2.
We can't be 3 3s?
I think that's overselling us.
Really?
Because that's a total value of 9. And then like if you
Combined, I think we could be at 9, Sean. A little confidence.
me and you maybe.
Oh, no.
Oh, thanks.
Are you kidding me?
5 or 4, but this kid's
This man's got charisma for days.
He's dragging us down.
No, he's got charisma for days. In that beard game? What is up? I can't.
Dave can't grow.
Look at it. If you shave the mustache, you'd be a leprechaun.
If you
But
combine,
I'm not going to shave. I'm going to shave the mustache. The mustache brings it all together. It really ties the room together.
every time I see that, like every time you say that, I see it and I just can't help but laugh.
If I shave one part of this, it all goes.
No, shave the head.
Well, no. I'm
Keep
talking
this.
beard game, Dave. Like, if I shave the stash, the beard is also going. If I shave the beard, the mustache is definitely also going.
Honestly, I think you're better without the beard.
Because I have done that, by the way. I've shaved the beard and kept the mustache, and it's not a pretty sight.
No, it's not.
Like, it is not like...
I used to have that picture on my phone, and it scared me.
I would be afraid of myself if I saw myself with just a mustache.
You wouldn't be allowed
the street.
within 100 yards of school like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be allowed to do what I do every day and teach children if I had just a mustache. But
have you ever had a parent-teacher conference and then they walk in and be like, "Oh, my son can't go here anymore"?
Luckily not. But that's because I've never had.
He's never had just the mustache.
So.
Oh, I didn't say even with the beard.
Oh shit!
This is the Primetime Podcast where we're talking college basketball, college football, but really right now we're in draft mode, getting ready for the NBA draft. And that's all we're going to have today for you guys, NBA draft topics. We're going to look at the potential steals for us in the 2019 NBA draft. We're going to look at also Cam Reddish, his best fits in the NBA, and then round things out, taking a look at Keldon Johnson of should he stay or should he go and come back to Kentucky.
As the 5 of the group, I think I'm going to call an audible. We're talking strictly college baseball tournament. 3 topics.
I have brought that up numerous weeks.
Omaha, am I right, guys? What a place.
I have brought college baseball
It is
up
a
numerous
place.
weeks,
It
and Brandon
exists.
would always say, no, we're not talking college baseball.
For a good reason.
I'd be down for it.
No.
But this is where you guys also, before we get into it, this is where you guys come in to help us out, patreon.com/mostvaluepodcast. We have decided, well, really, we kind of eyeballed it. 10 by 12 is the room that we're in. It's a little tiny box that we record into, and we want to get a bigger space. You can help us get a new one by going to patreon.com/mostvaluepodcast. Help support us. Make sure we can do bigger and better content for you in the future and get rewarded by being at our bronze, silver, and gold level. Just for $1, you can get access to our Discord server and talk to us really whenever you want. To have that access to us for as low as $1. So go check that out down below in the description. But guys, let's get into it. I'll kick it off to whoever wants to go first of who for you is a potential steal in this draft, or do we have to define what a steal is?
I think defining a steal is pretty important.
Yeah,
because
I mean, right now you got Tankathon pulled up. Tankathon puts it into tiers. So I think really it's like, who are you getting at that prime value? Are you getting him, if he's a top 30 guy, but the NBA has him ranked as a top 50, and you get him at 50, but you think him as a top 30 guy, that's a complete steal.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think...
Like a Draymond Green in the second round.
Or a Karis LeVert. I think Karis LeVert was a huge one. Getting Karis LeVert at 22.
Top 10 talent, 100%.
Was a massive steal for the Nets because they probably had a top 15 grade on him, at least top 12 grade on him. And the only thing that was holding them back was injuries. So you got to kind of look at those guys that are kind of being undervalued. You could argue that Luka Doncic was a steal at 3, just because, at least
he was in his own tier.
Right here. Yeah, he was.
Igor wanted him at 1, and
now
he lost
Igor's
his
no longer a
job
coach
because he didn't get him.
Yeah, but he was number 1 tier for us.
Yeah.
And
same with Dave
Yeager at 3.
Same with Dave Yeager.
That's the number 1 right there. So you can get steals in any part of the draft. And I think I kind of mapped it out that way. at least looking at this, I think the biggest steal that I think that could be out there, especially for top 10 teams, would be Goga Batazde. If you watched our last live lotto mock lotto, I think that's what we called it.
Run with it, baby.
LMLD, our live mock lotto draft. I had Goga going 9 to the Hawks. Okay. And to me, that wouldn't be a steal because I have him as a top 10 prospect. But I feel like he might fall to that 15 to 22, even 25 range where I've had him typically in my mocks because I'm trying to think of where he will go.
Yeah.
So if NBA teams realize his potential and realize his talent, he's going to probably go in that top 10. But if a team, let's say just the Boston Celtics at 14, if they get him at 14, I think that's an absolute steal. Another guy I think like that is Naz Reid. I think he's completely getting slept on.
Wow.
Shockingly.
Wow. Sean and Naz Reid.
And I think if the let's
goat
say
in Sean's mind.
the Thunder get Naz Reid at 22, which I think they're currently picking at 22 right now, that would be an absolute steal as well. So those are two of those guys where at least, I think the talent is absolutely there. And
21, but yes.
21. And even that, I think he's a top 15 talent. If you get him at 21, I think that's an absolute steal.
Wow.
What?
I'm stunned by like the seriousness of that actually, because I'm concerned with the kid's motor, and I think that that's a lot. I mean, he is offensively gifted, don't get me wrong, but motor problems are something that seem to haunt players' careers, and it's a large hill to get over. So,
and 100%, and you're not wrong. I mean, you look at Marvin Bagley, and a reason why he's most likely going to succeed in the NBA is because of his motor. You look at Zion Williamson. We just had a comment recently. The reason why Zion's going to succeed in the NBA is because of his motor, which is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler, the reason why he's currently a top 20 player in the NBA, you could argue top 15. Jimmy would argue top 10. Is because of his motor, because of his desire to get better.
The man plays out of spite. Yeah. He lives, breathes, and eats spite.
And I think you can look at, obviously, guys like Jahlil Okafor, where that motor wasn't always there, top 3 talent, but that motor wasn't there. I think if you're getting him, though, at 22 or in that 20 to 25 range, that is because people see that motor and are turned off by it. But the talent is absolutely there, and people are motivated by different things.
Yeah.
Naz Reid could be a person that is like, hey, I'm going to make money in the NBA. That is going to be my motivation because I want to, make my career so successful.
Yeah.
So maybe playing for LSU, where he may or may not be getting money, whatever Will Wade was passing out, at the lunch table.
I wonder if he was getting that $10K that DeAndre Ayton was getting
per month.
Which, by the way,
not a bad deal.
On Jacoby and Jalen Jacoby, Jalen came out and he says, that's kind of low. That's kind of a deal for Arizona, getting DeAndre Ayton for only $10,000 a month.
But, obviously if Naz Reid steps into the NBA, he's most likely going to be getting, millions.
Yeah.
So I think if he's motivated by money or if he's motivated by being next to these high-level talent players like Russell Westbrook and Paul George, just using OKC as a example here, I think that could propel that motor to get up. And also I think a big part of Naz Reid's success is when he's involved in the offense. So if you're going to a place like OKC where Russell Westbrook is spreading the ball around, that could keep him engaged and locked in. So I think the talent is there where he is a top 15 player. And the weaknesses obviously are holding them back, but we could be looking back on this draft 5 years from now and being like, wow, Naz Reid at 22 or 21 was an absolute steal.
It's fair. That's fair.
The one that I was thinking about was the first guy you said in Goga.
Or Gorga,
or
as
Gorga,
you like to say.
as sometimes I like to say. What I was thinking ever since you said his name was, you look at our big board and the one that we did. Yeah. If we do what you want to do for the next one, which we'll probably do and have a cumulative big board.
Consensus?
We would have had him all at 14. So he would have been probably at 14 for us on that cumulative, depending on if anyone else jumped ahead of him. And I look at our last mocks where Dave and I didn't have him in the live mock that we did. And for me personally, if I go back to the 5.0 then, for me, based on where we had him in the big board and where I had him in my mock, he would definitely be a steal because I had him go, 29 to the Spurs?
Yeah.
I had him as my 14th ranked prospect in a big board. And that's, to me, with the center position, why he could be seen as a steal, because the Celtics, who you mentioned have so many picks, what if they go Jackson Hayes instead? And that opens the door for a team below 14 to get Goga Batazde.
Yeah, and I think, again, that just opens up that door for an absolute steal. And I think we've seen this, pretty consistently in the NBA, that these guys are getting slept on that are international prospects. Obviously, that's not always the case. You look at Kristaps Porzingis, people thought that was a complete reach. And obviously, until Kristaps didn't step on the floor, he proved that wrong.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's been troubling for him to stay on the floor because of injuries. But you look at Dragan Bender. I mean, he was coming into that draft pretty much a top 5 player in most big boards, consensus big boards. He fell to 8. So I mean. He fell. He's stick at 4.
He was 4.
First
yeah,
was 8. My
he
bad.
went 4. Yeah, Marquise Chris.
But we've seen some like
The brick.
international prospects usually don't have this consistent spot. Like we can obviously look at most of these college players and then rank them pretty like consistently.
College is so easy to work with because it's one level of play almost. I know there's different divisions as far as like SEC versus ACC and shit like that, but like you still understand what the standard is and like what the constant international play, because they play in multiple leagues in multiple periods of time against such a vast diversity of players. It is harder to scale that against what is the equivalent in America.
Yeah, and I just want to stick into the drafts that I've covered and just using the 2 guys that really stick out to me. Like you look at Luka, and I think that he was clearly undervalued as an international prospect.
Yeah.
What he did overseas was not taken into consideration enough. And yes, he didn't have that top level athleticism, but clearly we saw this year that he's just he was the most talented basketball player in the rookie class. I mean, it was clear that whole year that he was the most talented. And then you look at when you look at reaches, Georgia's Papagiannis. We did a full 30 pick. We did a full 2 round.
He was in the second round for you.
We did a full second round.
That was the one where you had the second round on your article on the website at the time.
Yeah, he
you
was
had
the
him in the second round.
He went 12th. So, I mean, you don't know where the NBA is going to slot these prospects in because it just takes one team to reach on them, and it just takes 7 teams to miss on a guy. So I think that's the thing is just, it's easier for us to get a feel on where the NBA is going to go with NBA prospects. There hasn't been really too many shocks, I think, for us when it comes to players getting taken too high, when it comes to at least college prospects in the NBA draft over the past 3 years. But the biggest shocks have come at least from international prospects. So that's why I think Goga is just a real mystery, because if he falls way out, I mean, we're talking 19 to 25 range. Absolute steal right
Which,
there.
I mean, he could. And the thing that I think of internationally, and this is going kind of in the way back machine, it didn't end up being a steal, but I think the last international player I remember from like my childhood that many thought was going to be a steal was Darko at 2. And that was one where it's like LeBron was going to be number 1, but there were people in that draft falling in love with Darko going into the draft. And that's the reason he went at 2, where people thought if LeBron wasn't in that draft, Darko would have been the top pick in the 03 draft.
If LeBron wasn't in that draft class, I could see Darko going number 1. He was a complete player at the time. What people had seen out of him, and again, we were pretty much teenagers at that point.
We were 13 at the time.
Ooh, I was a cool 6 years old.
Nailed it.
Nope, I was 5 because that draft happened in June. So I was a sick 5 years old.
Dope.
I was in kindergarten.
Yeah. So
Dave was close to being a 14-year-old at that time.
I was getting there.
Yikes.
But from what I remember was like, that guy plays against grown men. He looks like a grown man. He physically was, built already. So it was like, this guy's a already finished product, like going into the draft almost.
He became a mixed martial artist too after his basketball career. Which is awesome.
I mean, and he was the first out of that class to get a ring.
Yeah. I don't think that matters.
Some say.
And
some would say
that's
Darko Milicic.
It's ridiculous looking back now, but I was even looking back at past drafts too, and there's guys where you're just like, how are they ranked at this level? I mean, you look back and there's some horrible ones like Anthony Bennett going over Victor Oladipo. Like that's just bad. Or
the top 6 in that class was just, you could literally like shake your fucking bingo thing and like roll and like, that name's number 1.
That was a shock. That was probably the most recent, like, I know Papagiannis was a shock, but because it was number 1, I remember watching that draft going, wait, what? Like, Anthony Bennett? Like, I didn't think he showed number 1 pick at all this year. Like, that was one where I, like, literally dropped my jaw and went, huh?
Yeah.
And kind of cocked my head. Dave, who's a guy that you have as a sleeper?
This is a bold one.
Or not sleeper, steal. I'm going to do that so many times. We're talking steals, not sleepers.
So this guy is someone who I wanted to hate for 3/4 of this year. And that is Jonte Porter.
Okay.
He's a man who hurt, and he had such a good stroke from the outside. And I know the injury, and I know the family of injuries, and I know they just cursed. Indian burial ground cursed.
Especially with ACLs.
I love how it took you a month to go from this guy might be overrated to this guy is now underrated after tearing his ACL for the second time.
Well, people are saying he's going to go like mid-second round if he comes out.
Yes.
And I think the value there was awesome because if you look at, last year he was going to be pick 25? And this year is a worse draft class.
Well, we had a lotto at some point.
Yeah. And this year's
Last
a
year.
worse draft class.
Yeah.
Quality-wise, we're saying depth-wise, top-end, different story. But, I don't know. I think that his offensive skill set is unique enough that I would absolutely take a swipe on him at the end of the first round, 100% knowing that there's a chance that he may not ever get back healthy. But if you're at the end of the first round, it is a fucking, it is darts at a board. Yes, you've scouted these guys through and through, but, the success rate for those late first round picks is fairly low. So if you take someone who has the basketball skill that he has the coaching that has been bestowed upon him, basically his father was a coach his entire life. He has a fairly good basketball IQ. His brother, excellent player, obviously back injuries, murdered that, college career. But I look at him and I'm going yeah, he's not going to play the first year. Maybe. So what? These guys aren't, this isn't who's the best rookie of the year. This is who's going to be the best pro for your team down the line.
It doesn't worry you, though, that when he was trying to come back from an ACL injury, that he just tore it again?
It terrifies me.
So, that's the thing is, I look at it, and I think you're making a good
But with
argument.
a second-round pick?
I think a late one.
I think
a late one.
No,
That's
but
ridiculous.
if he goes in the,
29?
Tankathon has him at
Ridiculous.
39. If he goes 39-40, if you're a team that can throw a dart at a board, then I could see maybe potential steal.
I was trying to build up the case, and my bad, Dave.
No,
I was trying to build up the case because you just look at least 31 through 40.
Yep.
The Nets could take a shot at him at 31 because they have 2 picks already in the first round. That would be a team that I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. You think he's a first round value, and clearly he fell to the second round for obvious reasons. You can take a shot there. But the Suns, no way would I take him with that second pick because you need players that can play. You need players that can help
the
that
Suns.
roster.
You don't need players that can play. When have they needed players that can play?
But let's say they get Zion Williamson. You're going to need players that can step out on the floor and help your team in some ways.
If you're looking for spacing, does he not provide great spacing if he's healthy?
Not year one.
If he's healthy.
And
you're not
probably
winning
never.
shit year one.
Okay, but is he ever going to help you win shit?
I
You can
think,
take a player
that's the
that
thing.
might have a lower upside, 100%, but you can at least take a player that might give you 5 years.
Look,
or it might even give you 82 games.
Send him to
throughout his
Germany.
career.
Get that Kobe shit injected.
Did Kobe tear his ACL?
No,
No.
it
Did
wasn't
he tear
his
it twice?
ACL. He tore
There's
his
no magical cure
Achilles
for
once, but that ended his career almost.
there's no magical cure for tearing your ACL twice.
I mean, you could be Adrian Peterson.
He tore it once.
Yeah, but he came back and was a monster.
Yeah, but that was one time.
Dave,
Jonte tried to
the
do that and
grin
then
on
broke
Dave's
it again.
face.
Just fucked it up again. That's the thing. Is I look at Philadelphia, 2 second-round picks, and they already have a first-round pick. That would be a team that makes sense too. But the Bulls, they need guys out there.
Yeah.
You can't throw Jakar Sampson out there again. You can't
Please
throw
no.
Wayne Selden Jr. out there.
Hightower?
You can't throw Hightower. You can't throw out
I'm sorry, Hayward. Yeah, Hayward Highsmith.
Hayward Highsmith for the Sixers. You need guys that can go out there and play. The Sixers need to replenish their depth too. I mean, that's even a team now. Even talking about
that's team I would not take him
don't.
with.
There's all these teams where it's the Kings need to help their depth. New Orleans, if they're trading away Anthony Davis, I think you need to just get guys that you might be able to hit. And Jonte, there's too much of a question mark. That's why 42 for the Sixers. That would make sense because they got 14.
That's right. I forgot
picks.
they do have $1 billion of them.
The Kings have a second one too. I would be looking at guys or teams that have multiple second rounders to take that shot, or teams let's say Boston at 51. That makes sense too because they have already 4
I think you're
first
so
rounders.
low on him.
I'm not low on his talent.
The percentage chance that he plays a game in the NBA is what?
I mean,
Plays
a game?
Yeah.
75%.
All right. So what are the odds that he makes it to through his first contract?
Without re-injuring his.
No, I'm just
knee?
saying. Do you think he'll get a second contract in the NBA? Do you think he's a guy who, due to injuries and circumstances, he will wash out? Because
I would put it at 40% that he does not make it to a second contract.
That's fine. Look at the guys from 2010 who got drafted in the 20 through 30 and 30 through 40 range. How many of those guys made a second contract? And that's what I'm saying.
What I'll make an argument for, and then Ricky jumps in, is look at Juwan Blair.
Yeah.
Juwan Blair had no knees, and he came out of the gates like gangbusters for the Spurs. first 2 years was great and phenomenal, showed that talent, and then he just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's my worry for Jonte Porter. It's not the talent. It's just the fact that you might be wasting your pick to help your depth because, yes, this guy does have this high ceiling. This guy does have everything that you want in a 5 in the modern NBA.
Yeah.
But if he cannot step out on the floor, that is just immediately going to ruin that pick. Where if you can get a guy like Iggy Brasdikas, who Ricky likes, that's a guy that might not have that higher ceiling like Jonte does, but he has health on his side, which is such a major point. And we always say the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
The thing I want to throw out is when it comes to Jonte, what does he need to do to be a steal? Because just by saying he's a steal doesn't mean he's going to be, starting lineup by the second contract. Like, for you, since he's your steal, Dave, in order to say he's a steal, let's say by the end of his first contract, what does he need to do in the NBA? Just be healthy? Does he actually have to fit a role for, like, a specific role for a team?
He can be a stretch 5 off the bench and give you, like 18 minutes a night and give you, 10 points and like 6 boards. Like, I think that out of a second round pick is pretty fucking good. And I think that the points he's going to get are going to be, like 50-50 Brook Lopez-esque. You're going to be looking behind the arc, or he'll have a little bit of a low post game where he can back someone down. But like, honestly, you want his shooting touch. You want that for a second unit is so unique because you have so many guys in second unit who can't create shots for themselves. So when they're it's point guards, a lot of them who just have to drive into the lane and they toss it up there. When you have that extra spacing from have your center being able to be mobile out on the side, or even flexible where he can play as a 4 maybe if he gets his weight down. I think there's a lot of opportunity for him going forward. And go ahead, Sean. I know where you're going with this.
And here's the thing is what I was going to throw out, and Dave can see it because obviously I'm Googling. I could see him being like a Frank Kaminsky player. Yeah. The reason why Frank Kaminsky is a bust is because he went 13 overall or 12 overall or whatever he went. I think it was like he was. How
many first rounds did Danny Ainge want to give?
9th overall. Frank Kaminsky was a reach at that point, going 9th overall in the 2015 draft. But if he goes out, Jonte Porter goes out and has a similar career, like Frank Kaminsky, who gives you 9.8 off the bench and 4 boards and 1.5 assists and a half a block, a half steals, and shoots 35% from 3. That's a very good
3 times a game.
And is able to be out there. Like, that would be the biggest thing for Jonte. If he's able to just put points on the board for you, move the ball, and isn't a negative for your team, and you get him in the second round, then that he can be a steal. But it's just the fact that can he play enough to warrant that steal label?
For me, it's perspective about knowing the hit rate from second rounders and late ones. And I think we always every year we try to be as optimistic about these guys' chances making it big in the NBA. But you have to be realistic about the amount of washout from 4 guys in the second round from this class maybe in the NBA in 5 years, maybe 4. Yeah, like, it is such astronomical odds. It's the best 400, 500 players who can play basketball are in the NBA. It's such an elite club that even if you're not good enough for that, yes, you can go play in Europe, be fine. Go play in China, kill it. But like, I don't want to say anything bad about other players in this class, but I don't know anyone in the second round who has the same level of potential as he does and offers a team the unique possibilities of a floor spacing 5 with his pedigree.
When he's healthy, like Sean said, he was starting to creep up into lottery range.
Yeah,
of like freshman, that's what he was going with. And to me, this is the one team that I feel if they get him in the second round or go to draft him, because they could even trade their pick because they've got so many in the first, if by some reason he falls to 51 and the Boston Celtics go, I know we took like a Goga or a Jackson Hayes in the first, but let's throw the dart at this kid. He can sit a year. Like, we've got the depth. Like, he can sit a year, and if he comes out and does exactly what Dave said, like stretch 5 off the bench and gives me 10 points and 6 boards a game, as a Celtic fan, I'll take that after year 1.
I always thought his pro comparison would be a very, a diet version of Jonte Porter.
Kelly
Al
Olynyk?
Horford.
Oh, Al Horford. Okay.
Yeah, or Kelly Olynyk's a good one too. I just think that he can. Because he's a decent defender. He's very slow, but I think he puts himself in good positioning. And that was the reason why he was creeping up, was because he wasn't this crazy athlete like his brother is.
Yeah, no, his
coming in
cone
at
drill was
6'11".
god-awful.
Yeah, super thin, super lanky, great shooter. You know, can attack the bucket like MPJ is a different athlete than Jonte.
Yeah.
But Jonte is just he was very, even as a freshman, he was just very consistent out there, and he wasn't making young player mistakes. And that was just something where you look at it and it's just like that just gives you immediate value as a 5 because you immediately look at these guys and it's just like, oh, well, they can dunk and they can protect the rim. They're going to get in foul trouble and they can't shoot free throws. Well, Jonte Porter can put himself in good positioning, and I kind of think that's like Jokic as well. Like, I mean, you look at Jokic isn't a great defender like a Joel Embiid, where he's going to stuff every shot. He's going to be a physical presence out there. He's going to be a vocal leader. Jokic is just going to put himself in the best positions to force turnovers, start the fast break, and get his team running, and just try to disrupt the other team's offense. And yes, that might not be defensive player of the year level, but he's a fine defender. And I think that's where Jonte would sit, is he can put himself in the right positions to make plays at the rim and contest shots, maybe not be a great shot blocker, but just be a guy that can be a consistent player out there, not get run off the floor, at least defensively. So I think, and great job, guys. Shout out to that message. But I think Jonte is just so worrying because of that 2 ACL tears. Because at this point, when he gets taken, and then we finally see him play basketball, it'll be a full 2 years. I mean,
but to be fair, he also was young for his class. Remember last year?
Yeah, he reclassified.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not worried about the age. I think
it's not the age. It's the fact that he hasn't played basketball in 2 years.
No,
so
that's fair.
If you're worried about weight issues, then what about not
well,
working out and
the
not
agility
being at
was
the
his
level?
Achilles heel, basically. It was like, man, if this kid could move, he would be elite talent, and he went back to try to hit that top 10 of this class. And I think he had the talent to get there had he not been injured twice.
But the thing is I just worry about
Harry Giles, man.
What would he?
I root for Harry Giles. I will root for Jonte Porter at this point.
2 knee injuries in each knee.
Yeah, that man. We need to get Jonte Porter the Stone Cold Steve Austin knee braces. Come on, that would work.
Stunner.
Harry Giles is a different kind of animal. I love that man.
And that's the thing is,
I think Jonte's got such a nice touch that even if he never has elite athleticism on his side, he still has that intrinsic value from being able to space the floor from the 5 position.
He's intriguing for sure.
Okay.
The guy that I'm going to throw out there is, you have to know I'm going to throw his name out there, because for me, he's a first-round talent, but I'm kind of feeling like he's going to go in the early second round, and that's Lewis King to me. He is a guy where, like, is he going to be a starting 3 in the NBA? Potentially, but like at his floor, I feel like he can develop into a guy who's off the bench, giving you depth at the 3, where it's like, hey, while our leading guy is off the bench, I'm going to go out there and score you some points. Kind of like what, and I'm going to use this comparison kind of light because I know with their Hampton 5, he kind of starts out there in smaller lineups, but he could, years down the line, be an Andre Iguodala to what he is to the Warriors, where it's like, hey, that's my floor of I'm going to come off the bench, I'm going to get you some good points, I'm going to score for this team while our starters are resting.
The biggest thing for Iguodala isn't the fact that he can score off the bench.
He also plays defense.
He plays
incredible
defense, at least when he was fully healthy and like 2 years ago, prime Iggy. At least prime
locking
Warriors,
down LeBron.
Iggy. Yeah, I mean, we saw 2 Iguodalas. I mean, we saw Philadelphia Iguodala, who was near a 20-point scorer a night, near All-Star level. Yep. Yeah, and he was a part of that. What was it? The Bynum trade, right?
Yeah, he was.
That's because we also had Denver Iggy too.
Yeah, that was.
He was a Nugget.
He was.
But I know. But it was because he ended up going to Philly to Denver in that trade. But it was like the big Iguodala, at least renaissance that I remember, were Philly when he was coming up. And that's when he was a number 1 go-to on that team. Yeah. And then obviously Golden State, and from that 2014, 2017 kind of range. I think that Lewis King, he's intriguing because he is young. I mean, he's a freshman coming out. And it's nothing to scoff at. 13.5 points in the Pac-12 for a freshman.
He is 20.
It is something that's interesting. Yeah, he is 20. And he's bigger too, 6'7". I mean, he's an interesting prospect, and I don't think he should be 36 like Tankathon has him. I had him in our 6.0, or was it 5.0?
Yeah, you had him end of the first round.
Yeah.
I had him a little bit higher
and I still haven't put him in my first round because I'm just holding out a grudge against Ricky at this point.
I think he's a guy that's going to be taken a shot at in the first round. I don't think he's going to be a steal because I'm not in love with his talent. I think that being 6'7" in college and having a little bit of speed is really helping him. But I don't think he's got NBA quickness. I don't think he's got elite quickness, and I don't think he has elite length. So I think he might end up being a good bench player for sure. But I don't think he's really screaming to me, steal, because he might be a guy that plays 10 years in the NBA for sure and can help out a team. But I don't think he's ever going to be, especially in the first round. When I'm thinking first round, I'm thinking guys that can turn into starters. I don't think he's ever going to be like that starting guy. He can prove me wrong for sure. He's going to be 21, I think.
No, he just turned 20 basically.
He just turned 20. I thought it was 20.7 on that thing.
I think it was 20.1.
20.07.
No, 20.07. Okay. So yeah, I mean he's a guy that, let's say next year, he might be similar to the last Oregon Duck we saw in Troy Brown Jr. So I mean, intriguing player, but I don't know really what his top
He's
level
got a better shot than Troy Brown Jr. Can I just at least give him credit for that? Because Troy Brown,
does.
yeah.
And Troy Brown was a better passer and better facilitator.
Correct.
Which was very unique for his size.
Yep.
And King is definitely more of a modern 3. I just worry about his top end. I don't think he really has that crazy jump off the page athleticism. I think he's just a good college player because of his length.
And that's why for me, if he goes where I have had him going, like
teens?
19, 20 area, then he would not be a steal in my mind. For me, it's
if he hits that round 2?
Yeah, if he falls to that second round, which I've seen in some mock drafts, then I'm looking at if you get him early in the second, you're getting, to me, a guy who is should go from 19 to 30, basically. Should be a first rounder, and you're getting him in the second round. A pick that usually is, hey, let's just throw it at the wall, see if it sticks.
Yep.
Who's another guy that either one of you want to bring up?
I'll throw out one.
Yeah.
And, I already talked about Nazareth. I already talked about Goga. I'll at least go to the second round. There's 3 guards I want to bring up. One of them is Maya Ione. He's a 6'6" guard from Yale. He's a very just solid all-around basketball player, at least on the offensive end. He's got good handles. He's got good start stop going towards the basket. He's got really good length. So he doesn't have this next level quickness, but he does have that length to, if he's neck and neck with a defender and he's going up against a smaller point guard, he can rise above him and still get a shot off of him. The one thing that I do worry about though is when he was going up against more elite athletes like the LSU and Duke games, he kind of shrunk. But at least what I saw from him in the Yale clips and when he was thriving, very good shooter, very good scorer, can pass, has good handles. I think that, in the second round, he might be a guy that, if those are just 2 bad games and he has more of a team around him to help him out, I think he can be definitely a steal because I think he could grow into a starter because he's kind of like that, in some ways, Malcolm Brogdon in the fact that I think that he's just a very solid basketball player. And if he goes to a team like the Bucks that are just a solid team that can really help him grow, I think that would be something that would be really huge for him. I think if he's a guy that lands in the right spot, he can be someone that's very interesting in 3 years.
But also,
because he's a little older, he's a junior. But I think it might take him 3 years to develop, just so he can learn the system, find his way, and then really develop. Because I think his offensive game there, his stroke is 100% there, so he can automatically help out a team with bench shooting. But I think he might be a guy that can take his game to a next level even.
And also with him, even if he doesn't go to a spot like you mentioned with the Bucks, even if he early on is that bench type of player that we kind of talked about with Lewis King, maybe that gives him some confidence going up against the second units rather than the starting units of the NBA team.
I think a team that would intrigue me to take him would be Indiana. Because they right now, I think Collinson's going to become a free agent.
Yes.
So they might start looking to add a point guard at some point.
Well,
they might address that in the first round, but they do have.
They've
Corey
got their
Joseph.
successor. They've got Corey Joseph, but they also did draft last year. Fucking names are awful.
Thanks, Dave, for bringing up that great content.
Who did they draft last year?
I don't know. Google it.
I'm looking it up.
It was a point guard, and I literally can't remember his name.
know.
He's the third brother, Holiday. Little Holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Justin?
Yeah. No,
No, not Justin
Aaron.
Holiday.
Aaron Holiday. Yeah.
Out of
totally forgot about him.
UCLA.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's I totally forgot about Aaron Holiday. Maybe not.
Yeah, he was limited minutes for a large portion of the year. He didn't see a ton of playing time, but when he did, he looked okay.
Yeah, I mean he comes from a great background, and I really liked him last year too.
Yeah.
I think he didn't play.
He needs to continue to develop. That's all.
Yeah.
It's just that was their plan.
Oh, and Indiana's did a horrible job of developing too. I mean, in some ways. I mean, you look at TJ Leaf; they drafted him in the top 20, and is TJ Leaf even in the league anymore? Like, where's TJ Leaf? Where's Henry Ellison? Where are these guys? Like, both teams drafted him in the top 20, and they're
Poor
like,
Detroit.
they're not playing.
They fucked up too.
But those are, I think, if Maione goes to the right spot where he can go next to an elite offensive player when healthy in Victor Oladipo, and Domantas Sabonis, who could set like really good screens for people, and Miles Turner, who can really batter people up. He can get around those, has that length to score as well, and he's a good shooter. So I think he's someone that could be really interesting if he's put in the right spot. I don't think going to a younger team like the Suns would really help him out. I think it would be really going to like a veteran team like the Bucks, even the Nets in some ways too, like the Pacers. I think he's just got that really all-around game that could really help him thrive in the NBA.
How about you, Dave?
I'm going with one of the absolute favorites in the tourney. I'm going with Chuma.
Okay.
Chuma Okeke. He had a huge tournament before it was absolutely derailed by a terrible injury.
Dave fell in love with that Auburn team.
Dude, that Charles
Dave
got me on
loves
it.
fucked up knees.
I do. Dude, okay.
Nothing's better than an ACL tear.
I am a long-term looker. I'm going it, and he's going to have the chance to talk to people at the draft combine coming up. Mm-hmm. And the thing is where's he at physically? Mm-hmm. His injury looked bad, but at the same time, like I don't know if it's like gonna be a long-term. It's a tear in the ACL, but there are different degrees of tears. So depending on that, if he wants to go back to college, fine, I get it. But if he comes out and he falls for whatever reason to again that like 27 through 35 range is golden, because I'm like, look, the kid absolutely was electric during the tournament. He was solid throughout the whole year, but really the spotlight, he showed up best, and that's I love those guys. It's I'm pulling a Kings here, and I'm like, who did good in the tournament this year? I'll take that guy.
I'll take that and raise you one. Carson Edwards.
Oh,
he is a guy to me where I feel like.
Didn't he announce he's going back?
I feel like he's going to be one. No, you're thinking of Cassius Winston.
Yeah, he spells it with an E on Dave.
It'll
Cassius Winston.
I don't think he spelled it. His parents spelled it.
Coming back. But
I don't see any way that Carson Edwards is a steal.
I'm just saying with where I see him going, which it's probably going to be middle to late second round, to where he can outplay that draft
middle to late second round.
You think he'll go early too?
I think he's probably early second round to middle second round.
That's where I would take him, and I'm feeling where I think he might fall a little bit because teams might not kind of look at him the same way I am, where I've made the player comp of like at his best could be like what Lou Will is to a team off the bench, of like giving you that offense in the second unit at your point guard position, and would also be a second round draft pick like Lou Will, but that's obviously the ceiling for me. Obviously that's not like a super high ceiling, but for a second round pick, I feel like he's going to be one that slips a little bit and then really outplays where he gets drafted and is a quality number two. And when I say that, the second unit guy, the guy running your second unit for your team. And if he goes to a veteran team, could be a guy running that second unit in the later of his first contract into his second contract. With the second team.
If he was 3 inches taller, he would be Jimmer for that. That's exactly who it is.
I think
he cannot play defense. I don't think he has the handles and the ability. I mean, he's definitely quicker than Jimmer was. He's a fast player, which is something I like, and he's got a sweet stroke.
His biggest thing is consistency.
No, his biggest thing is he's 5'9".
I think
it's a huge thing.
I think he can.
The only player that can get over that was Isaiah Thomas for 1 year.
I think that to me is not a glaring issue because
it's a huge issue.
He's 5'9". Of how players can get separation.
We'll wait till he officially gets measured, because
there's no way he's 6'1".
I also disagree with the Sports Reference 6'1". I don't know if he's quite 5'9" though.
He's Kyler Murraying it. He's gluing heels to the bottom of his feet. There's no way he is above 6 feet tall. That guy is my height. Yep. And if I went up against NBA players with his speed, I would still get the shit rejected out of him because he's just not quick enough. At least getting a shot off, and he doesn't have the smart. Like, he's like a mix of Rui Hachimura, where he has like the worst shot selection, and I just don't think he's big enough. Like, I don't get this whole steal stuff. Yes, he did great in the tournament. Whoop-de-fucking-do.
For me,
he did it against a slow-ass Virginia team.
And that's the thing with me of his biggest negative in my mind is consistency, where before the tournament it was, are we going to see a consistent Carson Edwards? Because he can ball out for 40-some points.
20-40.
And like before that in the season, it was like, oh, we haven't seen a consistently good Carson Edwards throughout. And then in the tournament, we got that consistent Carson Edwards. So for me, maybe it's because of that tourney play, but I feel if he goes like lower mid to late second round, he would be a steal in the NFL or in the NBA draft.
Yeah, I think you look at the teams that played great defense in throughout the whole entire, the best 3 defenses he went up against this year would be, at least in the regular season, would be Florida State. I got it. Florida State, Ohio State, and Indiana. And he sucked ass in all those games. He had 8 turnovers against Florida State, 7 turnovers against Indiana, and only 9 points in that game. And then I think he had 8 turnovers against Ohio State as well. Yeah. And you look at the tournament, he went up against Villanova, who's a very well-coached team who could play defense. He went up against Tennessee, who was a very well-coached team and could play great defense. And he went up against Virginia, a very well-coached team, and play defense. But tell me the one player that is the, holy shit, look at that great athlete on any of those teams. There is not a great athlete on any of those teams that could guard Carson Edwards.
And also,
you're getting to the NBA level where these guys are going to be quicker, they're going to be bigger, they're going to be faster. They have all of that addition. Even the worst guys on the bench, even player number 14 on that bench, unless it's a center, has that ability to combine that speed, that weight, and that height to really bully around Carson Edwards. And yes, he can shoot, 10 and 19 from 3. Congratulations. That was impressive against Virginia, but he screams college guy to me. Clear.
I will agree with you on the tourney opponents because Villanova was not the same as the year before. They lost a ton of guys and really returned 2 of their veterans to teach the young guys.
If DiVincenzo was out there for Villanova, he would put the clamps on Carson Edwards.
I like DiVincenzo, so yeah. And plus, DiVincenzo played out in that tournament,
Sean,
in that championship game.
I'm loving it.
Virginia, they were a team that almost lost to another 16 seed. I know they won it all, but I'm gonna still give them flack for that first half, and probably got lucky against Purdue and even Oregon on the road to that win. And then Tennessee was also an inconsistent team. So I'll agree with you that their tourney teams are probably not the strongest of guys. Is there any final guys? I've got 2 that I'm going to package together. But is there any that you guys want to mention before we wrap up shop for the first segment?
Speaking of unathletic guys who can play defense from Virginia, Ty Jerome.
Yeah.
The fact that he's 6'5", it's very similar to Maione, just a bigger guard.
Is he going to dribble off the back of his heel?
Yes.
Though? Okay.
Ty Jerome, the fact that he's 22 at the start of the season is going to be concerning. I think that he is just kind of in that same mold as Brogdon. The fact that he's 6'5" is also going to help as well. I don't know if he's just as good as an all-around player as Brogdon was, but this is a much weaker draft than Brogdon was coming into. No, it wasn't. That draft sucked, didn't it?
I mean, they did have no rookie of the year,
right?
Yeah, the rookie of the year category was a little short that year, but they've gotten better. It got better.
What draft was that?
Malcolm Brogdon was
2016.
Yep, 2016.
Who was number 1 in that draft?
I'm pulling it up right now.
He didn't play that year.
Was it Fultz? No, it was
Ben
Simmons.
It was Ben Simmons.
Oh, it was Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
because Brandon Ingram was iffy.
Jalen Brown.
Yeah, not iffy. His rookie year, he wasn't
Bender.
play. Yeah, bad.
Yeah.
Chris Dunn
Bad.
to the T-Wolves. Then Buddy Hield.
Yeah, was bad.
He was bad as
for
first
Jamal
years.
Murray.
He was not great the first year.
Marquise Chris.
Bad.
Jakob Poeltl.
He was not getting playing time.
Thon Maker to the Bucks at
Shot
10.
taker.
Bad.
DeMontis Sabonis at 11.
Good, but wasn't good his first year. He was
a spot-up shooter on the OKC Thunder for some reason.
I'm just going to do the next 3. Torian Prince to the Jazz.
Good.
Traded to Atlanta.
To the Jazz.
Yeah.
Then Papagiannis.
Bad.
Then the Bulls, Denzel Valentine.
Yeah, real bad. That draft class sucked.
Ellison was also in that draft, too.
Henry Ellison can carve up the D-League.
But Dave Steele of that draft at number 20, Karis LeVert.
Hartenstein's in that draft, right?
I think so.
Hartenstein's going to dominate the NBA one day. That guy is dominating the G League right now. I want you to look up the G League stats for Isaiah Hartenstein. He averages 27 points, 15 boards, and 10 blocks a game. He had a triple-double, I think, on points, rebounds, and blocks. That's insane. But I would throw out Ty Jerome. I think he's consistent enough where he's interesting. And then Jalen Noel, 6'4", 19 years old from Washington. I think he's very similar to KPJ. Kevin Porter Jr. Lower upside for sure, but more polished. I think he's got a cleaner shot as well, which is huge for me.
Yeah.
I think he's just one of those guys that's very offensive, has good handles, can attack the rim, can shoot from the outside, and he's got a cleaner shot than KPJ. And the fact that he's only 19 is something that's very interesting to me. I mean, he came into the into Washington as a freshman, put up 16 points, came back the next year, increased it by a half a point a game this year. So he's a guy that's extremely interesting to me. He was also playing on a very defensive-minded team. So if he's able to take that and really attack in the half court on a team that's really offensive-oriented, that would be a guy that really sticks out to me as a guy that can really be labeled as a steal. Because if he then has that high motor, can work on his defense, I think he could be a guy that, don't call me crazy here, maybe could be Jimmy Butler-esque.
No. He said it.
That is some,
No one thought Jimmy Butler was going to be Jimmy Butler in that draft. So.
Those are some big shoes to fill.
Also,
out of second round, that's almost like saying, oh, he's a 4, so he's going to be the next Draymond Green. I know Draymond's not on the same caliber as Jimmy Butler, but
said that comp so many times about second rounders.
Yeah. I know.
It's not even funny.
It's still when we say it, it's still all right, that's some pretty big shoes to fill.
By the way, I know you mentioned Malcolm Brogdon. For those of you who don't know, we do have a Malcolm Brogdon of the Year award, basically.
Oh, we do.
That will be in our final mock, which I'm excited for.
Oh, it's for
the second rounder who we think is be the best,
it's the late first.
Oh, okay.
It's the late one, I thought.
I thought it
could open up to the second round too.
I thought it was just a second.
I think it was just an old.
It's an older
guy.
player. It's the older player in the draft who's going to power through and be a top
Who was
player.
our Malcolm Brogdon Award winner this year?
I gotta look back.
This year,
It was Josh Hart. Josh Hart won it.
I'm trying to think.
I don't know.
Last year, I don't even remember.
I don't know who I picked. That's my promise. I don't know who my prick was. I don't know who we decided
Your
it was.
prick.
My prick. I don't know who my prick was.
So
Can I give it to Naz Reid?
No.
no. So I've got 2 that I'm going to package together.
My answer is I'm just going to copy over
Go ahead.
is it a sleeper still? Maybe. It was on our sleeper video. Darius Baisley.
Sleeper, steal, same thing sometimes.
Sometimes it is. And he's someone he's a fucking mystery box. It could be a boat. You know how much we always want one of those. So.
He's got all that business acclimate too.
Yeah.
Because he went to
he got paid $1 million to
New Balance.
New Balance, and learned all that business stuff.
Yeah,
So-
he's interesting. I mean, the fact that he's that big, has really good handles, can score.
I can't wait to see him show up at the combine.
Yeah.
Please show up at the combine.
Yeah.
Darius, please.
No, he'd be super interesting.
I'm going to package 2 here at the end,
Yep.
one of which I shouldn't bring up because it's just going to get Sean going on a rant that we don't really have time for.
We're going to hit an hour.
But Bol could be a steal in the first round. The reason why I say that
At what point is he a steal? Pick number.
That's the thing.
Give me the pick
if
number.
we look at the big board that we did, Dave, you had him in the top 5.
Yep.
I had him just out of the top 5 at 6.
Yep.
If he, to me, falls out of the top 10, he's a steal. Because to me, he is just inching almost into that top 5 to where if he falls out of top 10 and you're getting him anywhere after that, you're getting a steal. You're getting potentially the top 5 player in the draft out of 10. The other guy I'm going to throw in there, and this is going to lead into the next discussion because we're talking about him next.
Yeah.
Is Cam Reddish because when he was on top 3 on our big board or on my big board when he was on.
You mean in those
then
first
he was
3 games he played against
Then he was
college level
inconsistent.
competition?
And as of now, I think I had him 9th on my last big board. But if he shows what all the Cam Reddish fans think he will be in the NBA, if he becomes that, then he could be a guy that has fallen lower. If falls out of the top 5, maybe if he's taken it 9, 10, 11, and could be that guy that plays up towards wow, why did Cam Reddish go that far? Oh, that's why, because he had a bad season. We're going to forget about it. If we forget about it and he plays really well, could be a steal in the first round.
You could also just flip it and just be all right, let's look at this draft again and let's see, Cam Reddish went 5 to Atlanta. Let's see where Sekou Demboya went. Oh, wow, Sekou Demboya is a good player and Cam Reddish was out of the league in 2 years. Immediately just be let's look at what Cam Reddish did in college. Oh, fucking nothing. And let's look at Sekou Demboya. He was literally a guy that you just needed to build up. So I think Cam Reddish is just a straight gamble. He could, if we did bust, he would be in our bust video too. I mean, he is just.
I feel like both of these guys should be in the bust video for sure.
I don't. The reason why I think Bol is a very
injury.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I don't really think you can call him a bust. I think you could just call him a gamble.
You just call him Greg Oden at that point.
No, not every injured draft prospect is Greg Oden.
It's a big who was injured.
Greg Oden didn't have the same level. He had one foot that was
Greg
longer than
Oden
the
was
other.
a brick shithouse also.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just saying,
Like, that man was built.
if you took all of Greg Oden's muscle and then put it into Bol, you'd have two people.
True.
Like they would like right now. There's like it's two people in Greg Oden and Bol's just like a stick. If you put half of Greg Oden in Bol, you'd get
Sean's on the
two great
nutrition
prospects.
thing with Bol. He's got to add some weight.
Yeah, I mean he's just more of a gamble. I don't think he's a bust. I don't think you can't label him a bust because he's just so intriguing. He's got so many skills to add. He's just a gamble because of his injury issues. Cam Reddish can be a bust because he was bad at basketball.
I mean, and that's the thing.
Yes,
It's a gamble, but I mean, to me, I have this weird feeling that Cam Reddish is just going to go to the right team lower than we had him originally, and he's just going to play phenomenally in the NBA and make us all be like, wow, we were really doubting him for no reason. Like, oh, he was at Duke. That's why
and
he was playing bad.
And he could be Ben McLemore. Oh, he was at Kansas and he sucks.
I
still sucks.
hope Cam's not Ben McLemore. I really hope so.
Ben McLemore's got a better looking shot than him. I'm just saying.
It's true. Also, I think Jalen Brunson was just all of our picks last year for the Malcolm Brogdon.
And
award.
we did a
That's
pretty good job on that,
pretty
right, boys?
close. And also, Josh Okogie, shout out. I miss him. I love watching that guy play.
just shout out.
Well, I was looking at her mock draft.
Sean's
and I saw,
looking at the
and I
the
saw
live
Josh
or the
Okogie
final?
popped up.
Was that the final?
That was my 6.0.
Oh, that was
Okay.
before we got kooky, right?
That's right. Well, I'm looking at
Oh.
it while Sean's looking at it, and I forgot Sean did the colors on
Yeah.
his personal one too.
I had my two favorite guys in our live go 29 and 30. Okogie and Jalen Brunson.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know your steals of the draft down below in the comment section, and also what kind of justifies a steal in your mind.
Is Chandler Hutchinson still a steal? That kid's trash.
Like,
Let's not talk about Hutch.
Kid
well,
sucks.
we might talk about the Bulls in this next segment, but we're going to move on to the Cam Reddish. Before we do, let us know your steals down below in the comment section.